Hi, I'm Jeff Clark Jr., and this is Art and Underdogs. Today I'm joined by Pat Bradley, an independent writer director who's won over 50 awards at various IMDb qualifying film festivals. On top of that, he's a talented cinematographer, and I'm happy to call him my friend. Here's a trailer for his feature film, Into the Valley.
Are you always listening to the Four Seasons?
They used to be the band that my dad listened to.
Mom's just gonna go fix Grandma. She'll be back in no time. For us to go see Frankie in concert.
I'm gonna show him and Dawn that I can love them like they are the only people in the world.
Hey, I think I can take this. I mean, how many guys you know who can sing like I can?
You don't have the pain to create such great music. Now give it up, and maybe I'll let you see your child again.
Karen was right. I don't have it. I don't have the emotion in my voice. I'm cold. People can see I'm just a loser going through the motions over and over and over again. I don't have it. No, but soon enough I will.
Welcome back to the stage, Frankie Perella.
Okay, everybody, you're in for a real treat.
Welcome to the show, Pat.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Jeffrey.
How you doing, man? This is
I'm
this
good.
is kind of yeah. This is kind of nice. You know, it rained all day. We were supposed to film Fat Bastards or a food review show, so this is a good substitution. You know, get you on here to talk about you.
Yeah, definitely.
So that was the trailer for your feature film, Into the Valley. Can you just give everyone a quick synopsis?
Sure. It's Into the Valley is it's a drama feature about a man obsessed with Frankie Valli. So you got to watch the movie to really understand it, but that's the basic gist of it. But he's not really obsessed with Frankie Valli. He's kind of obsessed with what Frankie Valli means to him personally.
Yeah.
And he kind of Frankie Valli had a really rough life early on, and this guy is just a regular normal guy, doesn't have a rough life, just a normal guy. And as a musician, he feels he needs pain in his music, so he tries to replicate Frankie Valli's uh, rough life by causing his own drama.
Got you. So out of all the bands and singers, I mean, you might have answered it. Why, if for your lead character, why Frankie Valli out of anyone?
So the concept was on this film. I had a writing directing partner, Nick Buscarino. Uh, so he was going to college at MIT or something in Massachusetts, and he would have to drive every other weekend. He would go home to his place in Long Island, and he would drive the New York Thruway. And after you get past a certain point, there's no more lights on the highway. It's just dark. And he was listening to Sirius XM, and the only channel he was getting was the doo-wop channel for like 45-minute stretch of the drive. And on his last ride home, like he graduated, bringing his shit back from. Can I curse here?
You may curse.
All right, I'll try not to, but it's gonna slip out. So he was bringing
That's
his
okay.
stuff back from school, and it was a Four Seasons marathon. So he listened the whole 3.5 hour ride home, just Four Seasons music coming back. And he called me the next day and was like, I have an idea for a short film. Pitched me the short film. And I was like, all right, I'm interested. I'm always interested in working. Doesn't matter what it is. So
Yeah.
he wrote the short. Took him like a week or two to write the short. And then so I was reading it. I was like, this guy needs more. I was like, he feels like a real douche. I want to kind of investigate a little more. So he wrote a little more, and then we both wrote a little more, and then it just snowballed into that. So his original concept was Frankie Valli,
Got you.
which worked out well because Jersey Boys was popular at the time. Like
Mhm.
it was coming to its end, and it was real popular at the time. And everybody knows something from the Four Seasons. So
Oh yeah, absolutely.
even the little kids, They know something.
Yeah. Are you a big doo-wop fan or
I am.
of that era? Me
I
too.
am.
Yeah, me too.
I do love just about all doo-wop.
Yeah.
Nick's uncle worked with Frankie Valli back in the day. His
Okay.
uncle, who appears in the film, he appears as the lead character's father in
The older
current day.
gentleman?
The older gentleman singing in the bar.
Yeah. He was good
That's
too on
Nick's
stage. I was
uncle.
wondering.
He was a singer.
Oh. Yeah, I
He
was
was a
wondering who
doo-wop
that was.
singer. He was in a band back in the day, and he was actually signed to Frankie Valli to their production company back in the day. He actually recently passed
Awesome.
away too, so
Ah,
you
man,
know,
rest in peace.
rest in peace to him. He actually got to watch the movie before he passed away.
I'm sure he enjoyed it. It's a
Yeah,
good movie, man.
he liked it.
Absolutely. It yeah, it's so sad. Yeah, definitely recommend people go watch it. So you do you find it hard writing together with someone, or does it just depend on who it is?
Eh, yes and no, kind of. It really depends who it is. Uh, so I write really fast, like extremely fast, and so by the time I'm like 10 pages in, somebody didn't finish their outline. Like I'm real quick, so it's a little tough for me. And when you collaborate with a writer, you kind of have to be a similar type of writer. So I'm a character writer for the most part, and a lot of people are more story driven type of writers. So it's a little tough sometimes when your character if you're collaborating with someone and you know your characters and they wouldn't do what your story writer partner is forcing them to do.
Right. So
So
I mean, so you have to compromise a little bit, obviously.
yeah, a lot
Yeah.
when a lot. So that's why I try not to do too much on the collaborating.
Hmm.
Um, so I do a lot of script editing, which it's very similar to collaborating, and it's mostly from story writers having character problems, having dialogue problems.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's usually how it goes, and that's why my most of my films, most of my stories are they have really interesting characters, and the story itself is kind of secondary. So like you're
Gotcha.
always attached to the character. The story's just what they're doing basically.
Where did you find the actor, like the lead actor who played Chris, right?
Yeah, he played Chris
Yeah.
slash Frankie.
Right.
Uh, we had open casting calls in the city. So we did like backstage actors access, or I think at the time it wasn't even actors access. It was like breakdown services, something like that. We were holding in person auditions after because back then it wasn't really like a like it wasn't self tape heavy like it is now. Like
Right.
most of the stuff was in person. So we did one in person with people from backstage, one in person from Actors Access, and then we held an open casting call. And I'm not sure which one he was from, but I want to say it was from backstage
Yeah.
or the open because Actors Access was very hard for us to navigate.
Yeah.
So
Actors
we
Access
wound up,
is not the
yeah,
greatest. Yeah.
it's not. I know it's quote unquote industry standard, but
It is, but the interface and dealing with
it's
it,
a
yeah.
motherfucker of an interface, man. It's I don't use it anymore just because of that. Like it's too much work on my end to do that. So I'm sure he came from one of those two.
Okay. And what was he in like your top 3 or top 5? You narrowed it down or
So I'm gonna be honest. He wasn't in my top 5
wow.
when we were when we were uh when we were
Casting.
coming to
Mhm.
the casting,
Yeah.
and he was I believe he was Nick's number 1, and uh he was the other producers I think 2 or 3.
Okay.
So I got outvoted. I mean, it worked out well. He was great.
Yeah, he was great actually.
Uh,
Yeah.
he just wasn't what I pictured, and his style was a little different than what I was going for.
Yeah, I tell you his voice definitely it's got like a different type of voice like Frankie Valli. Like
Mhm.
even
Yeah,
his
yeah.
speaking voice is different. I don't want to say it's high pitched, but it's a different tone.
I believe he was Argentinian. So I think he had like I think he was hiding like a slight accent.
Mm. And he hit it well because I didn't hear any accent.
So I didn't
It's
really
great.
notice it until there was like certain parts where he got really angry in the script and where he had to like really like get angry, and like I noticed a little bit of it hint like come out during that. I guess it's
Mm.
hard for I'm not an actor, so I guess it's a little difficult to keep control of that cover up all the time. And I guess when you're so emotional during like a real angry scene, it might slip out.
Yeah,
I mean, we
for
we
sure.
wound up cutting around it because it was noticeable. We wound up cutting around it, but other than that,
Mm.
like even talking to him, like you don't really hear it, but then
Yeah,
like he'll say a few words and you hear like a little bit of an accent.
I can relate to that. When I get mad, my jersey comes out for sure.
I can't hide mine. Mine's always out,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
the authentic New Yorker.
Yeah.
So when you were shooting this,
Mhm.
were there any obstacles that popped up? You I mean usually all film sets have obstacles. Um, was there anything you had to like work your way around on set?
So in production, it was probably one of the smoothest films that we had. The only issue we had was we had to fill in. So there was a scene where there was like a drug dealer in the scene, and the guy who winds up playing the drug dealer on screen was the makeup artist for the film.
Oh,
So the guy that we hired was a no call, no show.
mm,
Didn't show up, didn't call, say I wasn't coming. So we wound up just trying to, you know, we had Nick wanted to try it, so we were gonna do that. But then we remembered he was in a. We saw his face in like a diner scene as like a seat filler.
ah,
Because when you're working small, low budget independents, you kind of have to, if
yeah.
you're in a restaurant, you got to fill it up. So back of the head, the gaffer's sitting over here, the makeup artist, everybody's sitting around, so it looks like there's people there. And
Right.
so remember, Nick was facing the camera in one of them, and the only person that wasn't on camera yet was the makeup artist.
That makes sense. That's pretty good though. That was in the stairwell, right?
Yeah, yeah, never acted before.
That was pretty good, man.
Yeah, it
Wow.
wasn't bad. I think
Good for him.
we probably rehearsed for a half hour, and that was it.
Wow. Impressive. Nice.
Yeah, it was real. It was a good call. I tend to use the makeup artists as fill-ins most of the time.
Some of those locations, like you mentioned the diner, um,
Mhm.
there was a hotel, I believe, and a club, right?
There was a hotel. There was it was like a karaoke bar
Okay.
kind of
Like a
thing.
karaoke bar, yeah.
We made it look a little different than what it was.
Like, yeah, I thought it was a club. How did you get
Yeah,
some of those locations?
we paid for it.
Did you?
Yeah, the hotel's a funny story, but it's probably too long. But the diner, we just went in there. The diner was actually next to the bar that we shot in. It was like down the block. So we're like, we might as well
So it
get
wasn't too
this same
difficult.
location. This way we shoot this. So the bar was only giving us 4 hours in the morning to shoot. And then if we wanted to use it again, we had to come when there was a crowd. Like we had to come when it was packed. They weren't going to shut down for us because we couldn't afford it.
Okay.
So I had to play like crowd control the whole time, which wasn't bad.
Pat the
You know,
bouncer.
yeah, pretty much. So that's why you see me on screen. Well, you don't see me. We filmed it from the back, but I was like the MC in the film, and I spent half the day up there trying to get people to maneuver and shut up and just try to play along for just all we needed was like an hour. So to get a bunch of drunk people to kind of
Yeah. Cooperate.
yeah, cooperate for an hour and that was it.
So just offer him free beer, right?
We did. I think we did pay for a round. I think we did pay for a round for everybody
That'll
there.
get him to listen.
They'll be quiet for a little while.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, you mentioned the hotel. You gotta. Is there a short story that you can kind of
Yeah, I'll
compress
do.
it?
I'll try to compress it.
Okay.
So we found. So Nick was in charge of finding locations, and he just happened to find everything within a 5 mile radius of his house. Right. So
Hey, it works.
we were at his mercy, and it was. We get there, and we get a room, and they want to put us on the inside of the hotel. So we already spoke to the manager. Manager was like, "Yeah, it's cool. You can film there." Blah blah blah. I was like, "We want one on the outside because it's like there's like an interior part of the hotel, and then there's the outside part of the hotel."
Hmm.
So we were like, "We want something on the outside part of the hotel so we can go in, out, and be quick."
Yeah.
So one of the actresses came early and was sitting inside, and she came before the other manager started. So the other manager goes up to her and was like, Can I help you? Whatever. She's like, no, I'm just waiting for the movie shoot in the back. So this guy thought we were shooting porn. So
Oh my
he's like, I
god.
can't. So when I got there, he was like pissed. He's like, I can't let you shoot here. Blah, blah. I was like, listen, we spoke to the other manager. Blah blah blah. It's not porn. There's no nothing. I was like, it's just a
Oh
drama.
man.
So we wound up having to
Wow.
pay for the room we were shooting in. We were paying room for the crew that was staying out there because we were filming in that area for a couple days. So we paid for their room, and they made us pay for two other rooms. So I think one of the actors stayed in one of the actresses stayed in the other. But they made us get four rooms.
Oh, that
So all she had
stinks.
to do was just say, "I'm reading a book." We would have been
Yeah.
good. But
Dang it. That's too funny.
actors,
Yeah. I know, right? Jeez, man.
damn them.
Were you able to take anything from your personal life? I know it's a collaborative
Mhm.
writing process, but were you able to take anything from your personal life and inject it into the story?
Not that you see on screen. We actually cut the part that. So my mom was a huge Frankie Valley fan, and around this time, my mom was like real sick. Like she was sick most of my life, adult life, and she was really sick at this point. For in 2016, she was in rehab facilities for most of the year, and we actually contact. Well, I would go up there 3 4 times a week, and I talked to them, and I was like, "Listen, I was like, we're filming a movie. It's a feature film. I was like, I want my mom in it because in the film he sees his father. Well, he doesn't see his father, but his father's in the film as as Chris is an adult. So there was a big chunk of the movie that Chris would go see his mom in the film,
Mm,
and my mom was she couldn't she was wheelchair bound at that point. So it was kind of similar to how the flashbacks closed off with the mom.
I see.
So it was very similar, and he would just basically go there and just download everything onto his mom.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of stuff in there that I mean it did come from like a little personal stuff in there, but
Hmm.
it was a lot of stuff that would have changed the story. It would have changed the feel of the story. And so while
So you had to.
we were getting ready to shoot, we were supposed to shoot in November. November of 2016, and my mom passed away in October of
Mm,
2016. So we wound up just cutting instead of recasting. I just cut. I was like, I don't want to do it. We'll just cut. So we cut all that out, and then uh, that was like a lot of heart of the movie.
mm,
And then we just wrote the diner scene to replace a lot of that. We wrote like another scene that in November, like weeks before we shot, we wrote I want to say two or three scenes to kind of fill that little because that was a major part of the movie, and just to fill that void, we had to write some other stuff that was kind of.
to make it work.
expositionary, and I hate doing that, but
Yeah.
we had to do what we had to do.
Where can people watch Into the Valley?
It's on YouTube. You can do youtube.com or however YouTube does it nowadays. I think it's u.tube or whatever it is. And at always right Pat, you can just backslash always right Pat, and it'll pop up. It's there along with other trailers and everything else.
Cool. And there should be a URL right here below us.
Right there, right somewhere over there. It's about an hour and 15 minutes, and I suggest you take a Xanax in the middle of it.
Nah, it's a good film, man.
Thank you.
I watched it two times, and yeah, it's the acting is really impressive. And there's the actress who plays Chris's wife, Sarah Sutliff, is really talented too. She was
Yeah,
great.
Sarah's great.
Yeah, gotta give Sarah props.
Unfortunately.
So yeah, I'd like to move on to talking about you and who you
Oh
are.
shit.
It's the
Oh, boy.
everyone. Well, not everyone. Some people say that. As soon as I say that, they're like, "Oh shit!" And some people say it to the game at the end. They're like, "Ah, what the hell is this?" Like, "Oh boy."
I like the
But
games.
yeah, the games are fun, but we have to save that for last.
All right.
So I'd like to know, about you and your underdog story.
Mhm.
But first, I just want to kind of ease into it and just get to know, your past a little bit. Where
Sure.
did you grow up?
I grew up in Flushing, Queens. I'm not a Met fan. So we were able to hear the Mets games from where I grew up. And like we would open the window, and when it was concerts, we would listen to the concerts. But my mom was from the Bronx. She was born and raised in the
Ah,
Bronx, so we're all Yankee fans
the
because
Yanks.
she forced the Yankees on us at a young age.
No Mets in my
Worked out
house.
well though. Worked out well.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So what was your neighborhood like growing up in Queens?
Queens is the most diverse place in the world, and most languages are spoken in Queens. Most ethnicities in one. I think it was in a 20-mile radius, 15-mile, whatever it was, is centered in Queens. So that was pretty much the upbringing. I lived in like an not quite projects, but it was 5 buildings in our little area. It was 5 apartment buildings, 15 floors per building, 20 apartments per floor. So it was crowded.
Yeah,
There was probably 10, 15,000 people on our block. Just shoved into these small little apartments.
yeah.
Um, yeah, and there was in our apartment there was at any given time there was up to 8 of us.
I was gonna ask you had brothers or sisters.
Yeah, I have there's 6 of us, brothers and sisters total. 3 boys, 3 girls. Uh no, actually there would be at any time there would have been 7 of us because my little brother wasn't born until like 85, I believe.
Okay.
86, I don't even know. Sometime in 85, 86, somewhere around there. So any given time there was 7 of us. Uh,
So
one would move out.
tight quarters. Tight quarters.
Tight quarters, a lot of head and foot sleeping,
Yeah.
a lot of dual bunk beds jammed into
Yeah.
one room kind of thing. So it was a
That'll
lot
work.
of and it was such an age gap too because my oldest sister, so the 4 brothers and sisters that are older than me, they have a different dad.
Okay.
And the youngest one of those is 14 years older than me. So
Gotcha.
it was a significant age difference. So I was a little shit at like 5 years old, cramping everybody's style.
Yeah. You little troublemaker, huh?
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
So and nothing's changed then.
No, not at all. Except I'm not walking around like, when you're a kid, I used to do a lot of when my sister's friends used to come over, I
Mhm.
used to like sit on their laps and start unbuttoning their shirt. I can't
Oh,
do that
man.
anymore. That's a crime.
Little
So
Mac Daddy. You were like a Mac Daddy,
yeah,
man.
I was a little problem with the older women.
So, what was high school like as you got older?
I don't know. I didn't really go. I didn't go often. Uh,
Well, tell us about that, man. What about middle school? Was it
I know this is gonna be
Yeah.
uh, some. I'm not promoting anything I did. I don't. I would never do it like this again. Now that I know, but starting in like seventh grade, I couldn't sit in school. So if I was sitting in school, I was being disruptive, or I was fighting, or I was doing. I mean, I've been suspended dozens of times. I've been expelled from schools.
Mm.
When I was young, I was a problem child to say the least. I'll put it
I can
like
relate
that.
to
But
that. I can relate to that.
I in high school I did not go. In junior high, I was the reason that our middle school is banned from the Dude Ranch upstate New York that everybody used to go to. Uh, our junior high had like a 5 or 10 year ban because I started a
Wow.
brawl. I mean, like a brawl with another school there, and it was like there was a probably
Dang.
30 kids fighting, just breaking shit. We all got sent home early. It was bad, and that was like seventh or eighth grade,
Middle
and it
school,
just it,
man.
it yeah it just fucking
Yeah.
spiraled out of control in high school, early high school, and then around I think after what would be 10th grade because
It's high school.
technically
Sophomore.
technically I was still supposed to be in ninth grade because I didn't have enough credits to move into 10th grade.
Mm.
But in the city, they kind of just, push you through until
Yeah.
you get to the end, and then you have to hit the credit goal at the end. But um, so after 10th grade, they were like, you're gonna have a problem. So we met with like the guidance counselor and my mom and everybody, and she basically told us, listen, you should drop out of high school, get a GED, get a job because that's pretty much where you're headed. Hopefully, you can get a government job and turn your life around, but chances are it's not going to happen.
Mm.
And this was the guidance counselor that's supposed to,
Just straight up told you.
yeah, just straight
Wow.
up told me. And I mean, at that age, that didn't sink in. You still think you know everything and whatever.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, I was in summer school I didn't know a summer. Like I was in summer school every year since like sixth grade. So once they offered summer school, I was in summer school.
Yeah.
So you know what? I just couldn't
Man.
sit in class like and pay attention. Like I had to
Yeah.
like I had to be doing something. I couldn't just sit there. And then I remember my mom. She wouldn't let us eat fast food. Like I don't believe I had fast food aside from like going to another kid's like birthday party until I was like 15 or 16.
Wow.
So I remember after that conversation, by my school there was a McDonald's. We actually went to McDonald's and we had a conversation and she was like, listen, she's like, if you're gonna drop out, you gotta get out of the house. She's like, she's like, I don't want to do it, but you know, you're gonna have to turn your life around at some point, or I'm cutting, or that's it. Like you're gonna be on your own.
Yeah.
So you're combative. You're like, I could do it on my own. And then he took the night, and I was like, I can't do shit on my own. I was like, I could cook. That's about it. But
Yeah.
I kind of knew like I couldn't hold. At some point you got to be real with yourself,
Yeah.
and
Well, luckily
that
you
was the
were.
point.
Yeah.
That was the point that was like, all right, maybe I should start. And then summer school, I actually went, paid attention, did well for the first time, and then from 11th grade and 12th grade, I was doing Saturday school. Well, I was doing 7 in the morning, which was like the first period, till 3:30, which was 10th period.
Hmm.
Uh, no homeroom class, so it was just straight 9 classes plus lunch. That was it. And then after that, I was going to Saturday school, then going to night school twice a week, 2 or 3 times a week, just to make up the extra credits that I missed from the 2 years before. So I had to do that both those years, 11th and 12th grade.
Yeah, so you had to put in
And
some work. Mm-hmm.
yeah, I was working on top of that, playing sports, working, doing all that. And I still didn't graduate on time. I was short 5 credits.
Mm.
So I had to take 2 credit classes in summer school to graduate in August.
Yeah, so you weren't able to graduate with your class, and
Nope. Nope. I
yeah,
graduated summer and no walking. Couldn't walk with it because I might have failed. Like they wouldn't let you
yeah,
walk. So I didn't walk, didn't get nothing. I think I got the diploma in the mail, and that was it.
yeah. That happened in middle school for me. I was. It's similar. Yeah, I was just kind of lost in middle school, but yeah. So you mentioned um you played sports. How did that work
Yeah.
with like all the time you had to put towards all the classes?
So I would pretty much most of the games were like because I couldn't play for my school because
Okay.
of the suspensions
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
the grades.
Yeah.
So every September, I would go out for basketball, baseball, whatever, make every team. Come October, uh, you got suspended.
Mm.
You're off the team. That's pretty much how it went. So I wound up playing a lot of travel sports locally, where we went. They were kind of like the better of the kids that you know. Some kids played high school and travel, and then some kids
Okay.
just played travel. So we didn't have the money for me to actually play travel. So I got sponsored a lot from other parents from the travel teams. So it was like,
That's cool.
if it was like 2,500 for the year, the other however many parents that were there would put up extra money so I could play.
Oh wow,
So I
that's
could
nice of 'em.
so I could travel, so I could do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was also because I was really fucking good, to be honest. So,
All right now. All right now.
well, listen,
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
so it
That's
was
really
like,
nice of them. They didn't have to do that. Yeah.
nah, they didn't have to at all.
Yeah.
But
That's nice of them.
uh
They believed in you, man.
yeah,
You know?
yeah,
Believed in
they
you.
helped out a lot.
What did you play?
So I my main sports were baseball, football, and I boxed. I would play basketball. I was good at basketball, but I'm the height of a teenage girl, so that didn't that didn't really help
Wait
me
a minute,
too
hold on.
much.
There's a lot of tall teenage girls. Hold on now.
All right, well, back then the height of a teenage girl, kids eat a lot of steroids in their food now, so they grow taller. But yeah, it was baseball, football, and boxing.
Okay.
And in my junior year, I decided just to focus on football because I guess I had a lot of aggression that needed to be taken out,
Yeah, that'll
and
do it.
it wasn't baseball just wasn't doing it for me anymore.
What position?
In baseball,
In football, what
I was
position did you play?
running back, and safety.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I played running back too. Because 'Cause you're short. See, when you're short, you can hide it in the holes. You can
When I'm
just
short
you
and
like
stocky,
yeah, yeah. I
it's
was
it's
kinda the
hard.
same.
And what sucked was when I was younger playing football, uh, they had weight divisions. Like they had a weight limit. So I was like 11 years old playing with the 14-year-olds because I was 160 pounds and I wasn't fat. I was like because I've been this size since I was like 13 years old.
Wow. You were just short and stocky.
I never had a growth spurt. So at 13 years old, I was tall. There's not, I mean, there's a bunch of them now, but back then, 5'7" at 13 is,
It's not bad.
you're expecting to be six something at that point. Like, but I just never grew anymore since 13, 12 or 13. I
Yeah.
just grew wide. So it was more of a, you know, they had me playing like offensive and defensive line because I was at the weight limit. I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
faster than everybody. Why am I playing line?
Yep.
And
Yep.
then finally, one of the coaches was like, listen, he's faster. He's shorter, short, strong. put him through the hole. Just let him run.
Yeah.
And that was it. So from
That's
like
too
13
funny.
on, it was just running back. And then baseball, I was shortstop and center field.
Yeah, shortstop is hard.
It is. It's almost as hard as third base, man. Third base is, well, if you're not afraid of the ball, third base is great. And then boxing's a funny story too. So, I mean, I was okay. I wasn't. I ended with like a 9-2 record. So when I realized it wasn't for me, I was about 19 or 20. I was 20, and I was training out of a gym in Brooklyn, and a champion at the time was there. 147 pounds. I'm 204. They were like, "Oh, get in the ring with the champion." I was like, "You're a lot heavier than him. It'll help him get used to the power of who he's fighting." So I was basically a sparring partner for the champion for his upcoming fight, and I couldn't fucking touch him. Couldn't touch him. He was flying around. I was getting angry. Next thing I know, I try to hit him. I turn around. I'm sitting on the floor. It's like, what the fuck? I was like, how the hell did this? I was like, I don't remember. This little 147-pound guy knocked me on my ass. I was out.
Yeah, he's fast.
I was
Yeah.
like, it was Zab. Yeah, I don't know if you watch boxing, but
Yeah.
his name is Zab Judah.
More MMA.
Okay.
Not as boxing
Yeah.
as
So
much. Yeah.
he fought Floyd Mayweather. A few years later.
Wow.
Great boxer. He's the reason why I quit. I was like, if I can't keep up with somebody 147 pounds,
Yeah.
I'm.
He's lighter and faster. But yeah,
But even
I get what you
still,
mean.
to knock me out like that at
Yeah.
147, I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not made for this.
He's good. He's really good.
Not
Yeah.
made for that. I'm not good enough.
So even with all the issues in school, you still were able to, play sports and
Yeah,
excel at that.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I,
Except for
I
boxing.
was in a lot. I was in a lot. I was in a lot of trouble,
Yeah.
and that kind of allowed me to get in less trouble. Uh,
Right. Yeah, let out the aggression like you said.
let out the aggression.
Boys need that. Young boys need that. Yeah.
Keep myself off the street if possible. So
Yes.
I was busy from 7 to, I think, night school got out at like 9:30. So by the time I took the bus home, it was like 11. So by the time I got home, it was like 11. So from 7 to 11 every day, busy. So it was
It kind of wore you out, kept you off the streets, and
yeah, definitely kept me off the streets.
yeah,
For the most part. I mean, not
kept you
fully,
busy.
because I still found myself in trouble at times, but it kept me.
Yeah.
It could have been a lot worse,
Yeah.
and luckily I fucked up enough and I caught myself enough that it didn't go further than it did.
Did you have any jobs growing up, or was it just play sports and school?
I, I had a couple jobs. I had
Wait.
a
Okay, go ahead.
uh, so I worked at a family friend's. He owned a tow truck company. So I was washing cars at like 10. So he taught me how to drive at like 10 years old. So I would wash the cars for him, pull the car back around, and knowing how to drive at 10 and not, watching your somebody struggle in your family to make rent, that turned to stealing cars when I was 10.
Hmm.
And there was a little group of us between like 10 and 15, and we would steal the cars from Queens, from Brooklyn, drive them to a shop in the Bronx, and get paid.
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy.
I was doing that for
Dude,
a
my
while.
daughter is 9. I can't picture her next year stealing cars and taking to chop shops. Oh my
Different times.
god, that's
Yeah, and
crazy.
that didn't lead anywhere good.
I can't
You
imagine.
know, a lot of
Yeah,
jobs were very similar to that.
gotcha. Some illegal activities.
A lot of illegal activities. So there was that. Uh, no drugs or anything like that. Like I wasn't into that type of crime. But yeah, it was that. I worked at a supermarket for since I was like 15, 16, 17, 18. Like that was like the main job. So you make like I think it
Gotcha.
was like 5.25 an hour, whatever it was
Oh
back in the
my
90s.
gosh.
Maybe four twenty
Yeah,
five.
that
I
was
don't remember
minimum
what it was.
wage. Yep.
So how I used to I mean I was always looking for a scam, right? Always looking for
Yeah.
something at that age. And what I would do is it was on my way to school. So what I would do is at this time I was living in Jamaica, Queens. So I would take the Q30 bus to school, and I would hop off the bus, go into work, punch in, go to school on days that like I wasn't scheduled to work. I would go to school. On my way home, I would punch out.
Mm.
So I was getting paid full time as a 15-year-old student on working papers that you're not supposed to work more than 8 hours or 12 hours a week,
Oh
whatever it
my
was. I'm
god.
working full time. I'm working as much as the guys in the union.
Oh my
They
god.
never caught on. Never caught on.
That is hilarious. Like this.
They never ever caught
Wow.
on. Luckily,
Oh man, you were
luckily.
bad. You were a bad kid, dude.
Yeah, I was not only that, like it wasn't I was an asshole too. So it made it even worse.
Was. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well,
No, I'm
I
just
was
kidding.
definitely way worse
No, you're
as a
awesome,
kid.
dude. I'm just messing with you.
I'm still an
Yeah,
asshole,
man,
but
it's a
I'm a nicer version of it.
that's crazy, man. Yeah, like I can imagine growing up in the city, like in New York. You know, you grow up much faster than
Yeah,
you do like living in the suburbs and stuff. You're
it
just around.
100%.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
the the only real like vivid memory I have was and actually one of my screenplays is actually kind of based off this specific day. It's called Brooklyn Queens Day. So in the city, I know now it's called something different, but um, I believe it was like June 4th or the first Monday in June, whatever it was. The kids in Brooklyn and Queens used to get off from school, just Brooklyn and Queens. So, you know, we all played sports together, travel team, whatever. So we would go into the city. And at this time, 42nd Street wasn't the 42nd Street you see now. It was peep shows and
yeah.
it was being cleaned up. So it was like in the early stages of being like cleaned up and all that.
Was that Giuliani days?
Right before, I think it was still Dinkins. So it was like when did Giuliani come in? So this is probably like 91
Late
or
night.
2.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
93. I'm not sure, but it was either like his very like early on in his term or like the
Hmm.
tail end of Dinkins. I don't
Okay,
remember 100%, but it was I'd say it was like 8th grade. So that was 93 for me,
gotcha.
or 94, the end of 94, right? So June 94 would technically be the end of 8th grade. So it was around June of 94. So it was probably Giuliani. And I remember we took the train into the city and we're just walking there. Like there's hooker, broad daylight. There's hookers out there.
Yeah.
And as a little, 12-year-old, you're looking around like, holy shit, I see titties. Oh my God. And you're like infatuated with how it was. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
actually I have a script that takes place on Brooklyn Queens Day,
Okay.
and it's kind of similar to like the Goonies and the Warriors.
Oh, that's
Kind of,
cool.
it's a blend of that, and it happens just to take place on Brooklyn Queens Day.
Yeah, man. When you're exposed to like that sexuality at such a young age, it does something to you. When you're exposed to like violence and sexuality.
Makes you a good writer.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. So, were you were you doing anything? Were you doing anything as far as like writing or thinking about writing back then, like when you were younger?
Not not really. So
No.
how I actually started writing was we had a sister who she moved to Phoenix. Uh, in the late 70s. One of my older sisters.
Mhm.
And I was actually born in Phoenix on accident. So my mom went to visit my sister in Phoenix, and I just happened to come out like 6 weeks early, 7 weeks early.
I see.
And I had to stay in Phoenix for like 6 months until I was, because I was so small. Like I was, a premature baby. So I was like really, really small.
Mhm.
And so what happened was they made me stay. My mom had to stay in Phoenix for like 6 months until I was able to be fully out of the hospital and
And
grow, and
discharged.
you know. And then we stayed in Phoenix with my sister for another couple months, and then we came back to New York. But it's funny when I tell people I was born in Phoenix, like, what the fuck? I was like, no, it was an accident. It was
Yeah.
you know. But so we used to go every once in a while to see my sister. And we couldn't afford to fly, so it was hop in the car and drive to Phoenix, drive back.
That's a long drive.
Yeah, so it'd be like me, my mom, my little brother. So, two boys in the car, you're fighting. Like, at that age, you're fighting. So my mom would basically give me a story to write. She's like, I want you to write about this, this, and that. So by the time we get to whatever it was, so if we're like down south, by the time we get through Texas, I want you to finish this story. I'll read it when we get to the hotel. So it
Oh,
was
that's
kind of
cool.
that. And for her, it was to keep her sane while she was
Right,
driving,
right.
not to pull over the car and whoop our ass.
Right.
So, uh, and I don't know, I think that's kind of how it got started, because aside from gym, the one class that I never really cut was English. I
Uh,
don't know why. I think it just happened to work that way. Like, it must have been like ingrained in my head that I like telling stories. I like writing stories. I like, you know, whatever it
yeah.
is. And it just must have been ingrained in there, and I didn't realize it.
Oh, isn't that funny? That's
But
yeah.
I never had any kind of desire for writing or even film. Like, we love movies, but you know, always seemed like here, like you can never, attain to something like that.
Yeah, it was out of reach. Right. It
Yeah.
seems
So it
too
was
big.
never, yeah, never even in the cards.
Yeah. When did you think it was in reach?
So it was kind of like a snowball effect. So I started writing music for friends groups. Uh, uh, Pretty much a lot of friends were doing music. Some were doing heavy metal, some were singing, some were rapping in the early 90s. So we would all sit and write music. And then that turned into like writing and producing music. So I was producing music also. And then in like the early 2000s, that turned into like I got a job at Jam Master J Studio,
Mm.
and it wasn't a job. I basically got to work there, and he would teach me some things every once in a while.
It was almost like an internship.
Yeah, but not really. Unpaid, but it was kind of like, you help out around here, and you could run some stuff by me, and I'll listen to it. I'll do whatever you want to do. Whatever you have, I'll check it out.
Wow, that's cool.
So it was
That's cool.
cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then he's the one that told me, he's like, because I was writing music videos for a lot of people he was working with at the time. And I'm giving him like 10, 15-page music videos. And he's like, 3 minutes. He's like, I
Yeah.
can't do 10 minutes. He's like, cut it down.
Yeah,
And
this
like,
ain't no Michael Jackson
yeah,
video.
he would just get like, he'd get real, like, no, you have to do it this way. He was like pretty
Yeah.
strict with it. And so then at some point he was fed up. He was like, you know what? He's like, you need to be writing movies. He's like, you want to do too much in too little time. So then I started writing long. So I left there. Uh, so my older brother got out of jail. Well, this was even before that. I left there in like maybe a couple months before he died, maybe 2 months before he died. And I got a job in the city doing like just some night watch at construction. So I basically just sat in the trailer and played Mario Kart and made sure nobody came into the yard. But
Yeah.
I needed to get paid. At that point, I needed money. Like I couldn't just keep going to a studio and not getting paid. So I wound up
Sure.
leaving to go work construction. And then, you know, that just didn't. Once I got a taste of like that professional, creative person between him and everybody that was around him at the time, it kind of got stuck. So now I was like, maybe I want to do music. So I was writing a lot of music videos, all that. And then that just snowballed into writing stories. And then I bought a book. I think it was just called Screenplay, and I learned how to format a screenplay. So I was still handwriting at this time, like handwriting screenplays. I didn't have a computer, like it was
Yeah.
just straight handwriting. And then I worked enough. I got a computer, and I started learning uh, formatting for screenplays. I think it was like WordPad too. It wasn't even like anything
Yeah.
crazy, but it was like you found how to do like how many indentations this meant. It was like tab key meant this much, and you would basically have to hand uh, structure your screenplay. So I wound up doing that, and the first screenplay I actually wrote sold.
Wow. Was it a
So
feature?
it was a
So
feature.
short?
It was a
Wow.
feature. Never got made, but it was a feature. Uh,
Well, at least
I'm
you
sure
sold
there
it.
was. I'm sure they made a version of it, but whatever I like titled it and wrote and whatever wasn't. If they made it, it wasn't in the final product that I've seen. So I don't know. But at the same time, like my mom, she had like a major stroke on my 18th birthday.
Mm.
So um, a couple months later, I got into a little bit of trouble. I had to go away for a little while. Came back, and from like that August or September of '99, I was taking care of my mom ever since. So everything was, about money at that point. So I was doing a lot of,
Yeah.
all these odd jobs and whatever. And then, working at that place, got that itch for the writing. And then my mom was like, just go for it. She's like, we don't need much. We grew up, you guys grew up with nothing. I never really had nothing.
Yeah.
So you don't need to keep going crazy. Pay the rent, pay for food. You don't need anything extra. Just follow what you want to do.
Yeah.
So then I started working towards that. And then my older brother got out of jail. He wanted to move to Florida. So he was able, he had to work out a deal and went to Florida. And my mom wanted to go to Florida. She thought maybe life would be a little easier in Florida than in New York. So I went down there with them for maybe 5 months. I think it was outside of Orlando. And I got a job that I was trying to get. So I was helping this guy write jingles, like for commercials and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he would get the money and he would slide me like $200. So he was probably getting like 2 grand. I'm getting like $200. So to me, $200 is everything, at that point. So he would send me like, hey, I need a jingle for this. I'm writing like 7 jingles a week, trying to, get money to pay rent.
Yeah.
So I was doing that. And finally he was like, listen, I want you to come in uh, and interview for this position. We have an open position that I think you'd be great for. So I was like, well, I'm in Florida, you know, uh, I don't know, how that's going to work. He's like, if you come up, he's like, I'll make sure you get the job.
Wow.
I was like, all right, I'm coming up. So I think maybe 2 days later, I hopped on a Greyhound and came up, went back up to New
Dang.
York, and got the job. And I was there for like a year. We did so many like big commercials, and it got to the point where after like 8 months, they gave me my own team. of like people my age to work with because
Damn.
I was working with a lot of the older guys, and they gave me my own team to work with. It was like 5 young people, and I don't think it really went over too well with the guys that I was working with before because we were, we didn't have responsibilities. These guys had families, they had this, they couldn't be there, you know, all hours of the night. They couldn't do that where we could. We're all early 20s. So I think we were banging out like double. We took all the smaller jobs. Like they were taking the big jobs, obviously, but we were banging out like just quantity. And I don't think that went over too well with them. And apparently, someone found out that because on my resume, I put that I went to Queens College. So I figured Queens College would be something that nobody would check. It's a good school, but it's not a school where somebody thinks you're going to lie and said that you went to Queens College. And I didn't go. I
Okay.
didn't go to college at all. And they wound up finding out, and they called, and I got fired.
How'd they find out? They just called the school. We're like, hey,
Yeah, they called and requested.
we got this guy. He's banging out all these scripts. We need to check up on him. Did he really go there?
Yeah, I had to. Sure, it was something like that. I
Yeah.
got fired,
Wow.
and at that point, all my money was going down to. So I was renting a room by the train station in Bayside. So it was right by the Long Island Railroad, and this company gave us a monthly pass to the Long Island Railroad, so I didn't have to pay for it because I was taking a subway in, and I would have to take a bus to a subway, and the Long Island Railroad was right there. So I couldn't afford to rent the room anymore.
Yeah.
So what I did was I stole a Honda Civic, the little hatchback. I wound up taking it to a place I remember and had a good relationship with. They they did some funny stuff for me, and I got plates on it,
Mm-hmm.
and I parked, and I lived out of that Honda Civic for like 4.5 months. Uh, I was working at there was a 24-hour gym in Queens that I was working at. So I would shower, I would shave, I would do everything at the gym late at night, and then
Yeah.
go. I would work on my screenplays in the car, and that's when I sold my first script. So I wound up selling it, and that gave me enough money to. Because my mom was having a problem at that time. She didn't want to stay in Florida. It was like the humidity was bothering her. Like, because she had a stroke and her equilibrium was all fucked up. So
Mm.
she had about like 17 strokes throughout her life, and
Man.
she would walk with the walker because she couldn't stand like her equilibrium. It's like she had
Yeah. Yeah.
chronic vertigo.
Yes.
So the humidity was fucking with her brain, and she just couldn't deal with it. So I told her, I was like,
That's
I told
crazy.
her what was going on, and she's like, well, why don't you go? I don't have the best relationship with my brothers and sisters. So like I'm cool with one of my brothers, I'm cool with one of my sisters. So I probably could have asked them for help. Well, my brother obviously I couldn't, but because he was in Florida. But I probably could have asked my sister for help, and she probably would have. If there's something I need help with and I'm not 100% sure somebody's going to help me, I'm going to do it myself. I'll
Yeah.
fail at it. I don't care. Just I'm going to do it myself. When I probably that
Yeah.
person probably would have helped me no problem, but you know, that's just not the way I'm wired.
Yeah.
So it was more of, I mean, even as a kid, you get the keys here. My mom was working, she was a waitress. Like,
Yeah.
she made no money.
Mine too. Yeah.
So it was kind of, she's working 2 jobs. So here's the keys to your house. I was taking the city bus to school in first grade. New York City public school, public transit in first grade.
Oof.
So it
That's
was kind of
tough,
like,
man.
it was you pretty much do it yourself.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's pretty much how it went. And then so while I was
Wow.
living in the car, um, you know, I would still call the guy that fired me because he said, he's like, listen, he's like, I'll always help you out. He's like, if you need some work or whatever, just call me. He's like, you can't work here, but I can give you some side work.
This is
So
the
he would
guy
give
that
me,
found out about the
yeah.
college?
Well, it
Okay.
wasn't him. So this was the guy that got me the job.
Okay.
So he wound up helping me out, and he hooked me up with these producers, and I met with them, and they bought the script, gave me enough money to get an apartment, pay for I think it was a year up front, bring my mom back up from Florida, so she could stay with me.
Yeah.
My little brother, who was he was very similar to me in attitude, except he didn't have that mental capacity to realize he was fucking up and change. He just continued, and I'm doing it into his 30s. So,
Yeah.
he was bouncing around from family member to family member living. And
Yeah,
so I
it's
was like,
hard,
listen, I
man.
was like, I got, I sold this script. I got a nice amount of money for it. I got a basement apartment in, I think it was Elmont, Long Island. So it's like right on the border
Okay.
of Queens and Long Island. And it was near my sister. So I would have to go to work, and my sister, who lived in, I guess the next town over, she would be able to come and get my mom to take her to doctor's appointments. Because I still
Yeah.
didn't have a car. Like I couldn't afford a car at this point. So it was close there. I was like, listen, I was like, it's a small basement apartment. I was like, you can come live here. You know,
Yeah.
just we need to rotate. Somebody needs to stay and watch mommy. So
Yeah.
I'll work day, you work nights, or I'll work nights, you work days, whatever it is. So we did that for a while, and then he knew better than everybody else, and he left to go live with a friend, and I think I've seen him maybe like 3 or 4 times since then.
Mm.
But yeah, so my mom, like, it got to a point where I couldn't take care of her. She was falling while I was at work. She would leave the oven on. Like I would
Yeah.
make her food before I go. I would make her breakfast, lunch, and I would be home for dinner every day. I was like, all you got to do is just put it in the microwave.
Yeah.
So, Italian mom wants to cook everything. She can't eat my cooking. She has to eat her cooking, and she would leave the stove on.
Yeah.
So it got to be a point where it was just too much.
That's that's hard, man.
So I have 5 brothers and sisters. Nobody else wanted to take her in or couldn't do it for whatever reason. So I wound up finding uh like a place for her to stay. It wasn't like a nursing home or anything, but it was like a for people with like disability, like an assisted living place where they
Yeah.
they help you if you need it, because she couldn't walk. Like she was walker bound.
Yeah. Using the walker. Right.
Yeah, so she needed the help, and I had to
Absolutely.
be gone 8 to 10 hours a day to afford this place now, because all the money was spent on doing everything else.
Yeah.
So I wound up just having to pay that. I think her medical only, whatever, disability, whatever it was, only paid like, I think 30%, and that place was like 5 grand a month.
Oh my gosh, man.
So I had to do some stuff for that too, you know. And then it was all legal writing, ghostwriting, video work. That's how I learned cinematography. I just picked up a camera and was like, I can get paid doing this. I'm going to learn this.
Wow. And you taught
So
yourself. That's crazy.
taught myself writing, cinematography, everything,
And you're really good at it too.
just to pay for my mom's stuff. Otherwise,
Man.
I would have been, and to really help, I think that having the right partner in life, whether it's your wife or life partner or whatever it is, husband, if that's your thing, whatever, whatever it
Yeah.
uh, is key, because I don't have any drama. There's no drama in my house. She's extremely supportive. And so I was really, really broke, like broke. Like we were sharing an apartment. It was $700 a month with 3 guys, split, 700 split. So we were that broke, and I was struggling to make that.
Yeah.
I think it was like $200 something dollars each, and I was struggling to make that. And I told her, I was like, listen, I got a job on set the year before, well, 6 months before, and it was like a script editor. And basically, what it was if I saw something off, write it down, give it to the director. If I think this would work better, give it to the director. And he just had me watch it.
Oh wow.
So watching him, it was like a low budget. It was like an actual movie, like a real movie. It was just a low budget movie. And again, that guy who helped me got me the job. And so I told
Man.
Melissa, I was like, listen, I was like, I think I want to be a director. I was like, I was watching it. I really liked what he was doing. I was like, I was basically doing his job, along with him.
Yeah.
And, I wasn't talking to the actors or anything, but I was watching and making notes and giving it to him. And some of them he would use, some of them he wouldn't. So she's like, well, you know how to do the camera already. She's like, you know how to write. She's like, it would be the next logical step, right? I was like, I guess. I was like, but I don't know where to start. I can't afford the equipment. I don't have the equipment. And back then rental houses were like, you had to sell an arm to rent a camera from a rental house.
Yeah.
So she's like, you know what? Don't worry about it. She's like, we're gonna go. I think we went to an electronics store in the city. She's like, I'm gonna get you the equipment. She's like, whatever we need to get you going. She's like, I'm not buying it for you. She's like, you're gonna pay me back from the work you get from it. She spent probably $10,000. So she bought
Wow.
me a camera. She bought this big ass like top of the line Mac to edit. That's how I learned to edit. Uh, 2 cameras, some lights, microphones, like everything I need to do that. And we shot a bunch of really shitty short films, like learning back then.
Yeah.
Music videos. I shot pretty famous music artists on those cameras. Paid her back the money that she gave in.
Wow, man.
She
That's
she gave it
amazing.
right. She gave it right back for the movie. She's like, I don't want it.
Damn.
She's like, make another movie. So that's why she's a producer on everything. Also,
Yeah.
no,
Shout
no
shout
matter
out
what,
to the
no,
wifey.
yeah, no matter what I do, she will always be a producer. And
That's beautiful.
you know, she also helped. I'm terrible with fucking money. If I have a dollar, I'm spending two. You know, I was never taught money. We didn't
Yeah,
come
no,
from money.
same
We
here.
didn't have money. So I don't know how to
And
use money.
yeah, yeah, how
you
to
know, I,
invest it,
I
make
know
it
how,
work
I
for
know how
you.
to buy. I know how to buy.
Yeah, yeah.
And she's a saver. She's smart with money. She does. So she's helped me. I mean, to the point now where, I'm okay. Obviously I went into debt making this next feature, but it was planned debt. It wasn't.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes you have to do that.
Yeah, but like she will, always, no matter what it is, support. And if it
That's
needs money, it
awesome.
needs money. If it needs support, it needs support. If it needs, hey, like next week we're going. Well, I'm sure this isn't going to come out for a while, but like the first week in October, we're going upstate for 7 days to shoot a film. So it's just a few of us. Oh well, me and an actor going upstate in the woods for 7 days, and I have a ton of shit going on here. She's like, go ahead, just go make the movie.
Wow.
So, there's no drama for anything. And
Yeah.
I think that's key in a person's life, no matter whether it's artistic or not.
Yeah, yeah. As a partner, yeah, you need that rock. Need them to have your back for sure.
If you're sitting there arguing every 10 minutes, fighting over this and that, doing
Yeah.
all that, it's tiring.
It
It,
really
it,
is.
it will
It
suck
drains
the
you.
life out of you. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, it drains you.
So that's always key. And she's a big reason why I'm at the position where I'm at now. So her
Wow.
and my mom, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, man. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that.
No problem, man.
You really are an underdog, dude. You really are.
Nah, nah.
And
I'm not an
I
under.
love your story. I
My
really love your
brain's.
story.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's I can really relate to a lot of the stuff that you just said that you shared with us. And yeah, man, it
It's
says
tough.
something about your character when if you can get through that type of thing, that type of lifestyle and that type of struggle because not a lot of people do, you know? It's hard, man. It's hard to get
It,
out of it. It's so easy just to give up. Do you know?
it is, man.
It's
It's.
so easy just to end it.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like I've given up, and then
Yeah.
did just something clicks. Like, no, you can't. And it's not like because I'm a positive person. Because I'm not like one of those. I need inspiration. I'm positive.
Yeah.
Like I'm not that type of guy. Um,
Well, I know
for the
what it
most part,
is.
I'm pessimistic.
Mhm.
So, and I'm fucking competitive as shit.
So
So,
yeah. Some
inside my head, it's you know, you gotta keep
yeah.
going.
The pessimism I have too, it's kinda like a survival instinct in a way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It it
definitely.
it is. It's something that you learn over time from going through struggles and being treated like crap. You kind of that pessimism just comes naturally, and it's you learn to kind of control it and learn who to trust over time. Like you notice certain behavior patterns. You're like, okay, he's probably okay. It's weird. You
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
really
yeah,
explain it, but you just feel it. Um, and like you
definitely.
said, there are many times where you wanted to give up, but you just didn't for some reason. And I know that reason, and it's God. And I know that you might not be super religious, but I'm telling you, that's what that is. It's that voice that you hear, and you might sound crazy saying, "Oh, I hear a voice." It's not really like a voice that you hear. It's a feeling you get inside you, and that's God talking to you. Um, so let me just ask you a question: Do you think
Yeah,
that struggle breeds talent, or is it just something you're born with?
that's a good question. I honestly, I don't think there's an answer to it because, like, I would not recommend somebody become a struggling artist. Like, I would recommend that. Like, if you're a writer, uh, see, I can talk from a writer's perspective. I can't talk from an actor's perspective. I know a lot of times actors do that struggling actor, and it's the same
We
with
don't,
writers. Like a lot of
we
them
don't
do the
want to.
struggling. No, no, no. But like
Yeah.
writers do that struggling writer stuff, and so I guess it works for people that had growing up, that had um, solid family, had never had to skip dinner, never had to you know struggle while becoming a man or a woman or whatever. So I think that might work for them. But if you had any struggle in your life, you don't want to struggle as an adult. Like you want to, like I would never quit my job. I work a regular 9 to 5. I will never
Yep.
quit because number one, that affords me the ability to buy a house. So have a life outside of the art. And if I'm struggling, I would have given up. Like if I had to struggle as an adult, 100%, I would have been like, fuck this. No. Like now that especially since my mom passed away and there's no real reason, keeping me, because she used to like really beat it into me. Like, no, you're going to finish this movie. You're going to do this. She would always ask. So now there's no real reason for it. Like, I'm sure, Melissa would be on my ass if I did it, but she would understand. She'd be like, if that's what you want, then, you go work at your job and try to climb the ladder there. So I've been
Yeah.
stuck in the same job. Like I'm not climbing it. Like I'm cool with what I'm do. I get paid enough to buy the house, go on vacation.
Hmm.
So like I feel that makes me a better writer than struggling because I
Okay.
have the ability to experience different things. I can experience going on vacation. I can experience seeing different cultures, seeing this. I could take a road trip here. We can do pretty much whatever we want at this point, and it's not just all about struggle.
Yeah.
Where as a beginning writer, you're writing struggle, you're writing struggle, you're writing struggle. At some point, you got to break out of that. You got to experience life. You got to experience people. You got to experience all these different things, and you can't do that if you're relying on nothing. You're a struggling artist that's barely making enough for rent. How are you going to experience all this?
Yeah,
You know,
that's true.
so that's my take on it. Uh, from my
Okay.
perspective, it could be different from anybody else's perspective, but
You know what I think? I agree with some of what you said. Um, I think struggle gives people like us a different perspective, the underdogs. We see things from a different angle than people who have had things handed to them most of
mhm,
their lives. And we learn to appreciate the things that are a little bit smaller. You know what I mean? The things that
you
we
get
have that,
the smaller wins.
yeah, yeah, we learn to appreciate those
Hmm.
way more. And I think that we figure out ways to win. Whereas, people who are more fortunate, they kind of lean on other people to win.
Hmm.
Whereas people who struggle, it breeds like more work ethic and more
Yeah.
passion, and it helps us to, like I said, think outside the box and just look at things at different angles. And in doing that, we find ways to get those little wins, and we just work. I just feel like we just work harder. We have more to gain if we do win.
Oh, 100%, 100%.
Um,
But my
s-
point was more like the manufactured struggle. So like we really struggled coming up. There was no, you know, nothing to fall back on. Like
yeah,
there was no safety net.
nope,
Whereas now, these struggling artists or whatever, they have that safety net at home.
yes,
They don't. It's manufactured struggle. It's not. Yeah, I might not eat, but I have that safety net. I'm not going to starve to death. If things really get bad, I can go home.
yeah,
I was the home. There was no if things get bad, they were bad. Like, that it
yeah,
wasn't manufactured. So they have the ability to have that youth growing up. They can write about that and then they struggle as they get older. That's fine. But I just don't think the manufactured struggle
yeah,
makes you a better artist at all.
yeah. No, I wasn't really talking about that. I was just,
No, I know, but that's
yeah,
what a lot of people kind of like. They come from good households, and then
yeah, yeah,
I'm a struggling artist. You're purposely struggling. You're not, you know, you're
yeah.
not doing it out of
Sometimes,
necessity.
right?
You don't need this. You want this. There's a difference between need and want.
Yeah. But the talent part is what I'm. My question was like, people they say struggle breeds talent. And I agree with that.
I
Um,
I,
I agree
I
with
think
that.
there has to be some kind of
I don't know if you're born with it. Do you know what I mean? I don't know
it.
if you're born with it.
You know what it is? There's so many cases for or against. So you go to someone like Kobe Bryant. Like he never really struggled. His dad's in the military. I mean, they had their own version of struggle, but you know, he might not have been the most talented. He had a talent, wasn't the most talented, but that work ethic, the his ability to his mind state. So it's just I think it's more of a mind state than a talent perspective because obviously the more you practice, the better you're going to get. If you have the talent. If you don't have talent, you're just not going to get good, no matter how much you practice.
So to an
But
extent, you do think you're sort of born with a little bit of talent then.
I do think you're born with something, and you're lucky enough to find it. And when you find it and you work at it, that's what makes you great. But not everybody gets to find their talent.
Yeah, that's true.
Whether it's subconsciously being taught how to write at an early age or, wanting to do something, people telling you no, and you go and do it anyway. So whether it's something like that, you find your talent. You know what you want to do, whether you knew that you have the talent or that you knew that's something you would be good at or that you enjoyed enough to put that effort in. And unfortunately, people try to force things, and it gets a little tough.
Yeah, because then you turn on American Idol and you see these people who think they can sing, think
Yeah,
they got talent.
you
You're
know
like,
that
oh boy.
you might sound good in the shower,
Yeah,
but when real talent will always shine through,
yeah,
and you can see it's either they had to have worked at it. You just don't become that.
yeah. I appreciate you explaining all that and telling your story, man.
Oh, I might be
And
completely wrong. I don't fucking know, but
no,
that's
I
just
think
what my brain is going at 10:30, 2 hours past my bedtime. So
yeah. No,
that's
you're
just where
good,
it's
man.
at right now.
You're good, man. Uh, so let's play the quick questions game, inspired by James Lipton from Inside the Actor Studio on
Do I have to put on like
Bravo.
an actor face or something?
Yeah. Well, you're gonna be an actor soon, right? You got
Yeah,
you got a
in
part coming
November.
up.
Well,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I have a villain part. I don't say any words. I don't. I'm just supposed to be intimidating.
Okay,
Uh, that's coming up next week.
that'll be
And
fun.
then I have my own film that I'm doing, and I'm playing. Technically, I guess it will be the lead role since that's the only part of the movie that's an actual movie. The rest of it is other movies. So technically, it would be the lead, but
There you have it, Pat Bradley, the actor.
I'm editing it, so I'm cutting it around me as much as I possibly can.
Should be cool, man.
Hopefully, my scene partner is good enough where I could just leave it on her most of the time.
Lean on your partner.
Yeah.
All right, so the quick questions game. I'm going to ask you a series of questions. There's 10 of them, and just
Okay.
answer them as fast as you can. If you want to elaborate a little bit, that's fine. But it's just a
Okay.
little fun game that I play with the guests. All right, so here we go. What's your favorite film?
Streetcar Named Desire.
Who's your favorite actor or actress?
Denzel or Jake Gyllenhaal.
Who's your favorite music artist or band?
Phil Collins and Nas.
Phil Collins. Okay, I
And
like it.
Nas, both of them.
All right. Nas is like, yeah, I love Nas, but Phil
It's a
Collins, I
Queens
was
thing.
not,
I'm
I was
sorry.
not expecting that. Phil
Nobody
Collins,
does. I'll
yeah,
rock out to. I'll be blasting Phil Collins, and somebody just looking at me like, "You listen to Phil Collins?"
at a red light, just
Yeah.
like blasting. Oh man, what's your favorite sound?
Uh, Shit. I know this is something generic, but the sounds of weights clashing together while you're working out. Love it.
Okay,
I love it. Metal weights. I just love the clank of it.
cling, cling. Yeah.
Yep.
What's your favorite smell? Don't say the gym.
Old. Nah, that's. I don't want to get into that. Uh, Old school gasoline.
Okay.
Remember when you were a kid? I mean, we used to take road trips all the time because that's all we had. So we used to get in a car, and every time my mom would stop for gas, we'd roll down the window, stick a hat out, and
You know,
when
it's
they
funny.
had like when it was lead in the gas, when the shit you're not supposed to be inhaling,
Yeah,
that was the good smelling stuff.
getting
Now it doesn't
high,
even smell like anything. Yeah, it doesn't smell like
getting
anything
on
now.
the gas. I know some people who like the smell of gas too. Bunch of weirdos. No, I'm just kidding. um,
You thought I was gonna say brownies or cookies or something?
no, I don't know what Pat Bradley's gonna say. You never know.
Keep you on your
It's
toes.
very interesting. So where's your favorite place to vacation?
That's tougher. So the favorite place I've ever been was Iceland. Uh, I would go all the time if I could. But I would, if I had to pick one, and it's only just because I've been there so many times, it would be the Bahamas.
What's your favorite
But
curse
Iceland
word?
is the real answer.
Okay.
Motherfucker.
Right. Who do you look up to?
Is it wrong to say nobody?
No, you can say whatever you want.
Uh, I don't have any like inspiration, any heroes, anybody that I've ever really looked up to. But if I had to pick someone, I would say it would be my mom.
Who's someone you would like to say thank you to?
Uh, my mom and Melissa, my really, really long time partner.
Last question. You ready for this? All right.
Hold on.
When it's your time and your life ends and you arrive
Mhm.
at the pearly white gates of heaven, what would you like to hear God say to you?
I don't know if that's where I'm going, but
There's still time, Pat.
nah, I don't know about that.
There's always
Uh,
time.
that's a shit, man. I don't know. Uh, did you have fun?
Pat, thank you so much for being here and sharing
No
your
problem,
story
man.
with
Thank you
us.
for having me. I
That
appreciate it.
was that was an amazing story, man. And it's not always easy to share personal shit. So thank you for doing that.
Well, I did cut some stuff out because, you know.
Yeah, yeah. We'll talk about that off camera.
Yeah.
Where's the best place for people to follow your journey?
Uh, probably Instagram, I would say, or YouTube. But no matter where you want to find me, except LinkedIn, because I don't own a suit, and I know you need a suit for the picture. So, it's always right. WRITE, Pat at everything but TikTok and LinkedIn. TikTok, I'm too old for. LinkedIn, I don't own the suit.
There you go. Pat Bradley. Thank you guys so much. This has been an Art and Underdogs episode with Pat Bradley. We'll see you next time.